Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on INSPIREsmall.biz. I want to thank my friend Ryan Henry for offering me the opportunity to present my YouTube interviews with interesting people around Indianapolis on INSPIREsmall.biz. What is Indy's Trusted Servant? That's me, Danny O'Malia. I do customer service training and keynote speaking about customer service and organizational culture that leads to the kind of customer service that an organization, whether it's a business or a not-for-profit, is going to have. I learned all of that from the hand of the master, my late father, Joe O'Malia, back in the O'Malia Food Market days, and even before that, from about the age of 9, when Joe O'Malia had a little tiny grocery store in Broad Ripple. What's the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on INSPIREsmall.biz? I like to describe it as lively local small biz and community talk where you can feel the pulse of Indy. And today my guest is a fellow Indianapolis Rotarian and a fellow member of the Catholic Business Exchange. So we're friends on two levels. Liam Bonner with the Indianapolis Symphonic Choir. Welcome to the Indy's Trusted Servant Show.
Well, thanks for having me, Danny.
Well, first of all, tell the folks about Liam Bonner, where you grew up, where you went to school, where you studied, and how you ended up in Indianapolis with the Symphonic Choir.
All right, I'll try and give the short version.
Got to give the short version.
Yeah. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, graduate of Central Catholic High School, an all-boys school there. Dan Marino's our famous grad.
Aha!
Then moved across the street to Carnegie Mellon University, where I earned my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Vocal Performance. I was a professional opera singer for 10 years. Sang
so where?
At the Metropolitan Opera, at the Washington National Opera, LA Opera, Houston Grand Opera. I've sung in Rome and London and Wexford, Ireland.
Really?
Yes. I had a wonderful 10-year career, was very fortunate.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was living in Houston at the time as the home base. And I met my wife, Meredith.
In Houston?
In Houston.
Okay.
And I decided that I didn't want to be on the road traveling to start a family. And so I retired from performing and switched to the administrative side of things, still in the arts. It's just in me.
Yeah.
And so got into development with the Houston Symphony. And after 3 years on the staff there, I found this opportunity here in Indy with the Symphonic Choir to be their executive director.
Okay.
And we moved here in January of 2019.
So, again, I've done this before, but belated welcome to Indianapolis.
Well, thank you. Yes, well, there's a few years hiatus almost.
That's good. 3 years you've been here with the Symphonic Choir. Now, before we get into the specifics of the Symphonic Choir, it is connected to the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra or is not?
It is related. In 1937, 7 years after the founding of the ISO, at the request of the music director at the time, the Symphonic Choir was formed so that the orchestra had a choir of high enough artistic caliber to perform with the musicians of the ISO when they did things like Messiah or Mozart's Requiem, for example.
So you still perform with the...
We do, yes. They hire us. We're completely separate organizations, and they contract us when they do choral productions.
Okay, so I was going to ask you when the Symphonic Choir was founded, but you just told me 1937.
Yes, 1937, yeah.
Really? You know how old the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra is by any chance?
1930. When they were founded.
Oh, I would have thought it would have been older than that.
Yeah, no.
I guess Indianapolis wasn't a hot spot for the arts.
Maybe not immediately.
Yeah. Okay, so now start telling us about the Symphonic Choir. We know you perform with the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra when singing is called for.
Right.
Right. But you must do a whole lot more than that. And tell us about the structure of the choir and how many people are employed and is everything you can tell us about it.
Oh, sure. Gosh. Well, the organization itself, we have a small staff, which is good. Small biz. Here we are.
There we go.
We have, currently we have 5 staff. We are currently hiring a new development director. So we will have, when we're fully staffed, 6 people on staff. The choir itself,
I take it you're kind of the development director till you get this person hired?
Oh, yes.
Kind of
and the executive director is always doing fundraising regardless of having a development director.
Yeah.
So, yes, that falls to me now until we fully fill that position.
If there's anybody out there looking for work in this line, how would they put their hat in the ring, so to speak?
IndyChoir.org has the job listing and the request for where to send your cover letter and resume.
Okay. What are the other, you got the fundraising, you've also got administrative, I'm sure, but what are the other positions that are there?
Well, we have our artistic director, so he's the conductor of our performances, specifically our self-produced performances that we do in the year. When we're hired by the ISO, it's the conductor that they have hired.
They use, okay.
Yes. So our artistic director, Dr. Eric Stark, he's been there over 20 years with the organization. He's also on faculty at Butler University, head of the choral department. And we have our assistant artistic director, Dr. Michael Davis, who helps out with all the artistic areas as well with Eric. We have our conducting fellow, which is a master's degree student, where they receive a full tuition and stipend for their 2 years to earn a conducting degree, master's degree from Butler University.
Okay.
It's a partnership we have with them. They cover half, we cover the other half. And then this student gets the experience educationally at the university, but also practically in the real world, working with the symphonic choir, learning how we operate with the ISO, how we do our self-produced performances, and all the administrative stuff behind the scenes to make it successful.
I definitely want to come back to the self-produced stuff, but let's talk a little bit. We talked off camera about your relationship with Butler and how Butler is helping other smaller arts organizations along the same lines. Talk about that.
Yeah, from my understanding, like I said, I've only been here 3 years now, but Lilly Endowment actually put that hall and all of these small arts organizations, the Symphonic Choir, the Chamber Orchestra, Dance Kaleidoscope, American Pianists Association, the Children's Choir, all have our offices in the lower level of Lilly Hall
on the Butler campus.
Yes, and that is rent-free, which is
awesome.
Especially awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we have, I don't know, somewhere around 8 or 9 years left on that lease, and so we're starting discussions about renewing that. We certainly would love to still be on Butler's campus. We love the university, the school, the Jordan College of Arts is phenomenal.
Yeah, the Jordan College of Arts at Butler is just part of the fabric of the community as well.
Yeah, and the idea is that it's all a collaborative. So there are areas that we work together. In fact, this past week, we presented the Verdi Requiem with the Indianapolis Symphonic Choir, the Butler Choir, the Butler Chorale, the Butler Symphony Orchestra, with Dr. Eric Stark conducting at Clues Hall. So it was a combined effort of the Butler
and a win-win for Butler too.
Right. Hopefully, yes.
Right.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
we like to see it that way. Getting our side-by-side experience with the adult choir, and to be able to put on a work of that magnitude. It was a wonderful evening, packed house, which was really nice to see.
Packed house at Clues Hall.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's
well.
impressive.
Now it was a free concert too, so that also helps getting folks to show up.
What was it? Maybe this is a hard one to answer, but what was the demographic of that crowd? Was it a lot of young people?
Well, it was
being
a
on
mix.
campus?
Yes, I do believe that some of the School of Music students or the Jordan College of Art students may have a requirement to attend a certain number of performances,
Okay.
if I'm correct, which was in existence when I was in college at Carnegie Mellon. There were certain things that you had to attend to get your credit. So I think that was part of it, but part of it also just being the genuine interest in the production and seeing their friends on stage and just being together for live music again.
That's cool.
And of course, yes, we have our older patrons, but some of those older patrons were the parents or the grandparents of the students. So it wasn't necessarily this traditional, what is known as the blue hair crowd.
I got you.
Yeah.
Got you. So, the Beatles performing at in England, where it's Rattle Your Jewelry. Remember that?
Yes.
Remember that? So talk about how you guys are funded. Now we know you got free rent, so that's a start.
It's
right?
definitely a help. Yes.
Yeah.
The majority of our funding comes from individual donors. That is just having those relationships with our community, with our patrons. So those contributions, but we also receive grants and monies from foundations.
Sure.
So everything from the Arts Council of Indianapolis and the City of Indianapolis to the City of Carmel, The
I take it you perform at the Palladium from time to time?
Yes,
Okay.
and I'll tell you about that in our self-produced season.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we have the Crystal DeHaan Family Foundation, the Clues Charitable Foundation.
Yeah, okay, cool.
We also receive funding, of course, from the incredible Lilly Endowment.
I don't know where Indianapolis would be without it.
Truly, truly.
That's just awesome. So let's. So do you have before we get off the fundraising aspect? Do you have events? Do you have a grand event like Cathedral has the Shamrocktion and the Jubilation and stuff like that?
Yes, and apparently we conflicted with Cathedral last week.
Uh-oh.
Our gala was last Saturday, the 26th.
Oh my gosh!
And one of our choir members is actually on the board at Cathedral.
Who's that?
Kathy O'Neill.
Okay, great.
And so she was unable to attend our event to go to the Cathedral event.
There was a time. There was a time when there weren't 52 big weeks a year, big fundraisers a year around town, but I think that time has passed, right?
Yes, there's always going to be conflicting events, which I think is a great thing. It just means that the city is vibrant and has a lot going on.
I'm sorry we missed your fundraiser. I like to be able to promote fundraisers for organizations like yourself. That's always the last Saturday in February then?
Around there. It'll
there.
depend on our season and when we find availability to rent halls and also contingent upon when the ISO might need us for a performance.
Oh, so you got to work around that.
Exactly. But our gala is the Gala Bel Canto, Bel Canto being beautiful singing.
Okay.
It's the Italian. And so the annual gala is our largest fundraiser for our education and community engagement programming. So things like the Conducting Fellowship that I mentioned, our Spotlight Choir series, our Christmas Carol Commission competition, our Inquiring Minds series, our Community Sing, just for a
and those are all
smattering.
some of your self-produced things.
Yes, and our education and community engagement programs outside of the full concert hall type of experience.
Try not to get out of here before we talk about the education stuff.
Sure.
Okay. We might run out of time, but
there's a lot to cover. So
yeah,
no worries.
lot of stuff to cover. So how many times a year do you guys perform?
That varies from year to year. We typically have at least 3 self-produced productions. This upcoming season, we're looking at doing the return of Mood Indigo in October at the Indiana Landmarks in the Cook Theater, a little cabaret style. Great American Songbook, Broadway, pop culture, standards, that type of repertoire. We do our annual Festival of Carols every year, which is our family-friendly holiday tradition.
Is that in December? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and we're at the Palladium for 3 performances every December. This year, in December of 2020, we will be at Clues for the first time for a Festival of Carols performance, which is super exciting. So bigger halls, bigger audiences. Speaking
of halls, you mentioned the Crystal DeHaan thing. Do you perform down there at the U of I as well?
We have in years past, but not since the time I've arrived.
Okay,
and that's mostly been a scheduling thing plus COVID.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So and then our third self-produced is the gala every year. We also then fill out the rest of the season with the productions that the ISO hires us for. So
how many times do you deal with the ISO? You perform with the ISO?
In an average year, 3 or 4 times a year, actually. Everything from the Pops concerts. We'll have done Amadeus in concert where they show the film on screen and the choir is are the singers from the movie.
Okay.
As the soundtrack because the orchestra's playing the soundtrack to the live film.
Where do they do that?
At Hilbert.
At Hilbert.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And and then there are some rescheduled things from COVID that we have for the rest of this season, including Beethoven's Ninth in April. The Ode to Joy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mendelssohn's Elijah in June.
Okay.
We typically do Handel's Messiah with them once a year in December.
These are all things people are familiar with.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I would say.
Not real obscure stuff.
No, the ISO tends to do the big blockbuster choral pieces.
Right.
We do those also. A couple years ago, we did the Bach Mass in B minor with the Indianapolis Baroque Orchestra. And, but we also have we look to the future of choral music as well. And so we commission a brand new choral work, or full orchestra, full choir, every few years. And that is set to premiere in April of 2023. A Chicago composer named Augusta Reed Thomas, who is on faculty, was composer in residence at the Chicago Symphony for years. Incredible talent, but we were able to hire her for this new commission. So it's full choir. I believe there's going to be a soprano soloist, full orchestra. We'll premiere that in April of 2023.
Is this your first one? This is
my
first one?
first
Your
one.
first one. Okay.
The last commission that we did was in about 2015 or 2016, called Zabur by Mohammad Farouche, which after we premiered it, a year later, we were invited to perform it at Carnegie Hall in New York.
Did you go?
I wasn't here yet.
Oh, you weren't there.
So we have similar hopes with this
Yeah.
production as well. We don't ever know, the reaction to a premiere, but it is completely brand new.
Okay, how many members are there in the Indianapolis Symphonic Choir?
We have about 150 volunteer singers. They are all volunteer.
All volunteers.
All
Okay.
volunteer.
Okay.
Which is just incredible. They volunteer approximately 300 hours a year between rehearsals and performances with the symphonic choir.
That is pure dedication.
Truly. And they are, I mean, they're the reason we exist more than anything. If we did not have them and their talent, we would not be where we are today.
They don't all perform the same time.
No. In fact, it's pretty flexible, actually. We do auditions twice a year. So they actually, even though they're already in the choir, they're still auditioned annually.
They got to try out again.
It's how we maintain that high artistic quality that Dr. Stark has had the choir become known for in his 20-plus years at the helm. And but we invite new members all the time, and basically what happens is you do the audition. When you pass the audition, they send you the schedule for the year and say, here are all the rehearsals, here are all the performance dates
When
and
can you
times,
make it?
and what are you available for? And you can pick and choose, your own schedule.
That's why you have that many people.
Partly.
Yeah.
We do tend to have about 120 or 130 of those 150 for certain productions, though. Festival of Carols has a large contingency of the overall total. And then things like the Beethoven 9, the singers love performing that piece. They love performing with the ISO. And it's been a while since they've done that piece, too. So I think a lot of them have signed up for that one.
Has COVID made it difficult to fill that 300 number?
The 300 number?
The 300 number, the 300 people that are in the choir.
Oh, 150.
I'm sorry, 150. Oh, I don't know where I got
no worries.
300.
No, we just
Has
we
it
just
made it
doubled the
difficult?
choir. I love that.
Has it made it difficult to find the number you need for the flexibility you need?
Actually, when we held auditions last summer before the start of this season, we accepted almost 30 new singers to the choir. I think because of COVID, people are wanting to find that connection with one another again.
Oh, yeah.
And choral singing is a fabulous way to have that. Now, this season we implemented our COVID policies. You had to be vaccinated in order to participate.
Right.
You had to sing masked thanks to the Delta variant. That wasn't our original intent when we got the vaccine. We were hoping, okay, you're vaccinated.
Are they still singing masked?
They are currently, yes. We did not change our season rules. Our self-produced season technically ended last Saturday with our gala. The rest of our season is with the ISO. And so as the contracted services for the ISO, we follow the rules that they have in place. So if they require the choir to still sing with the mask, we will follow that. And if they decide that it's optional, then the members individually will decide their preference.
My logic tells me that singing with a mask impacts the quality of the performance.
You might think that. It does, I would say it does a little, in all honesty. The sound difference is completely negligible. If you sat in the audience for Festival of Carols or our Sacred Masterworks in October where the singers were masked, you could close your eyes and you would not know that they were singing with masks on, unless you were maybe not certain of the words. The big thing that masks do is hinder diction.
Well, yes.
So the consonants in the singing, it made it difficult to understand sometimes the words that were being sung. But our holiday show, a lot of familiar tunes. So even if you didn't catch the word exactly, you probably knew what it was because you know the song.
Gotcha.
And so that's been the biggest issue.
So the people that come to the performances, do they still have to wear masks?
Our season this year, we did require the audience to also wear masks. Again, that was up until the end of our self-produced season.
And that still goes?
That was this past Saturday. Now, if we had a performance, our own self-produced, say in April, we would probably evaluate based on the information we have now. But when we had to make those decisions in January, Omicron was rampant and people weren't sure. You know, one of the options was to potentially cancel the gala, which I didn't want to do. So we said, okay, let's not cancel it.
Did you have to cancel it last year?
We did. Well, all last season.
Did you do it on Zoom?
The 2020-21 season was all virtual. We did virtual performances, but we had a full season. We did our Sacred Masterworks. We did our Festival of Carols.
Excellent.
We filmed it with Wish TV and then aired it for the community free of charge on December 21st, 2020. We did our virtual Sacred Masterworks in May of 2021. And we did our virtual gala a year ago, February. And it was very successful. It's not something that I think can be maintained. You know, at that time, people were still willing and able to tune into those types of things. But we had a very successful gala this year.
I mentioned Cathedral and the Shamrocks, and we were really worried in 2021 about the virtual Shamrocks. We did just as well as we ever did.
Yes,
we were pleasantly shocked.
You know,
I think people step up a little more.
Yeah, well, we are all in this together, and so understanding the limitations, everyone's experiencing that, and so we had a very successful. I hope your gala was successful last week.
Oh gosh, yes.
But it was. Gosh. I'm sure people were thrilled to be back in person, though, and would not maybe have participated as well as heartily as they did last year.
I think
virtually.
You're right. I think you're right. I think everybody steps up, but there is that. We talked about the attendance at the not-for-profit organizations like Catholic Business Exchange or Rotary, and the being with people is a really important part of all of that.
It is.
Let's talk a little bit about how do you guys reach out to the schools and talk about that a little bit?
We do. Most of the K through 8 music education tends to come from the children's choir, which was born of us 36 years ago.
The children's choir is a spinoff of you guys?
Yes, we had a board member, Dr. Henry Leck, who wanted to start the children's choir. And so my understanding is that the Symphonic Choir wrote a check so that he could apply for a Lilly grant to found the children's choir.
I had a nephew in the children's choir several years ago.
Yeah, and our hope is that kids who have gone through ICC, if they're still around in the area after college or if they move back, remember the joy of choral singing and then join the adult choir, join the symphonic choir.
Do you have any numbers on that?
Not officially, but we are seeing, those that have come back join the choir. So with regards to the education aspect, our focus tends to be the high schools because these are students that are potentially pursuing music in college. And so our artistic director, Eric Stark, will go and work with the high school music
choral
directors. Exactly, working with both their conductor as well as the students. And then in our Festival of Carols every year, we have our spotlight choirs. And those are selected high schools over the years, and it changes every year, where we invite them to come and sing with us on that performance. And so Dr. Stark will work with them in the fall, go and teach them the pieces that they'll sing with our choir side by side. But they also get to be featured in that performance, and they do 2 or 3 numbers themselves. Yes.
Well, that's great outreach.
Well, and they get the experience of performing on a professional stage like the Palladium or Clues Hall with the support of phenomenal instrumentalists in the Indianapolis Chamber Orchestra. So it is a full production that they get the ability to be a part of.
I live in Carmel, okay? Mm-hmm. You've been around a lot of places. Mm-hmm. Rate the Palladium as a venue.
If I could do every performance at the Palladium for the symphonic choir, I would.
You would.
And that's a combination of the acoustics in the hall.
I've heard about the acoustics are from everything
They're
I've
very
heard.
good. They did their due diligence when they designed that, but they also, the way it's set up, it's very easy for the choir to be there because they've got those seats behind the main stage, and that's where we put the choir. So we have the full stage for the orchestra.
You mean the seats that are up?
Yeah,
above?
on the curve and the horseshoe right behind. That's where the choir goes.
Okay.
And then obviously I can't speak more highly of the staff at the Palladium. They make every experience that we're there just the easiest, most relaxed. Things get done. They're taken care of. We do not stress, which is huge when you're trying to put on a big production like that.
And as a citizen of Carmel, but also as a citizen of Indianapolis, I'm a big believer in if you build it, they will come. Whether
Yes.
it's the Hoosier Dome or the Palladium or whatever.
Well, I'm not going to lie, Danny. I wish that we could get a hall like that, not a replica, but an actual designated performance hall in Marion County. There is not an officially designated.
I guess not.
You know, you can think about if you've ever been to Kansas City, they have the Kaufman Center.
I've never been to
Looks
the
like
Kaufman
a
Center.
giant armadillo.
Okay.
It's very new age, very modern design, rather, I should say, and it's very lovely. It's fantastic. They've got 2 theaters in there and a parking garage that's attached, so it's ease of access. You can have the opera and the symphony performing on the same night because the halls are completely separate. It's all soundproofed, so you're not hearing the bleed from one performance over another. It's beautiful halls, the right size. You know, one of the tricks with American theaters is the sheer size.
So they can get too big?
They've become very, very large because, you know, we're Americans and bigger is better is a lot of the thought. But it's very difficult to fill those halls all the time. And so having those more intimate theaters that Europe has are sort of seems to be the best model as of, you know, today.
Yeah, you know,
like
Broadway, those theaters are small.
They are.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little larger than those, but smaller than a 2,000 seater, which is really tough these days.
The Palladium is about 2,000 seats, right?
They're close. I think they may be around 1,600. Clues is about 2,000.
Yeah.
So, but they're both difficult to a certain extent to completely fill. Now, before COVID in 2019, December 2019, we had filled the rafters. People were coming to Festival of Carols, and we actually were sold out for 1 or 2 of those 3 performances that year. I'd like to get back to that.
We're about out of time. Give us the how people access the Indianapolis Symphonic Choir. Find out the schedule of the events. They want to get involved in helping you guys. They want to get into the choir. Where do they go?
You can visit our website at indychoir.org. So that's INDYCHOIR.org. All the information you could ever want is on there. Phone numbers, email addresses. Please feel free to contact us and reach out with any questions.
Leon Bonner, fellow Rotarian, fellow Catholic Business Exchange guy, and head of the Indianapolis Symphonic Choir. Thanks for being our guest.
My pleasure.
Next week, my good friend and fellow Rotarian, Patrick Broccolo of Senior One Care will be our guest. Pat, Senior One Care started up in Fort Wayne, and he came down and brought it to Indianapolis. It's a family-owned organization that helps seniors stay in their homes. So tune in next week for Patrick Broccolo of Senior One Care. We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show. If you liked this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more updates. The Indy's Trusted Servant Show is produced by INSPIREsmall.biz in Indianapolis, Indiana. For more episodes of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show, visit www.inspiresmall.biz/Indy's Trusted Servant. Thanks for watching.